everyone. Welcome to Weekend Rental, episode 124. We are your gaming and geek culture podcast. As always, my name is Ryan, and I'm joined by Andy.
Hey.
All right, if you enjoy our content, head on over to geekade.com, where you're going to find podcasts on video games, music, movies, comics, and so much more. Geekade.com. What's your geek? And speaking of comics and geeky stuff, I went to the local Comic-Con this last weekend.
And, who comes up to Fargo in, let's just still call it winter?
Sadly, yeah, that's true.
To Comic-Con.
Yeah, well, our buddy Brandon, friend of the podcast, decided he was going to go. It was going to be his poor man substitute for not getting to go to the almighty Midwest Gaming Classic next week. So that's where I was like, all right, if you're coming up, I'll go with you. And it was moved to the fairgrounds this year from the hotel that typically hosts it. Attendance was weak. Celebrities, including Eddie Monster, the Brady Bunch cast, one of them, and somebody from HGTV were supposedly the highlights, although...
What's the Venn diagram on HGTV and Comic-Con attendees?
Yeah, I know. I was like, I don't get it. So yeah, it was weird. Attendance, like I said, was down. Vendors were down. I like that we have a Comic-Con, that there's people willing to put it on. I just don't know how skilled they are at like running a business or seasonal business of this sort. And it's kind of always seemed to be the struggle point with this thing. We went there mostly because Mobile Game World was going to be there, and they're friends of ours, local resellers in the video game market. They had stuff, actually some pretty good NES stuff. I bought nothing because I'm still kind of on like collecting hiatus. But Brandon found some stuff. Biff was there. He got yelled at for taking an unsolicited photo of the Batmobile without paying, which I think is great. If you don't pay $40, you can't snap a picture of that thing. And then, yeah, we kind of just did one loop around. I bought some Japanese candy for my kids, and we got the heck out of there. And it was $8 not well spent. Did a little area
You'll
shopping.
Go next year.
Oh, yeah? Yeah, that's true. We can go back next year. We did do a little bit of garage sailing, the pawn shop thing. It wasn't a bad day. We had like this weird like haunting curse, Brandon and I, starting out in the morning, where every sale and pawn shop we went to, we found something Bill Cosby related, which seemed like an ominous sign. Whether it was vinyl, DVDs of Ghost Dad, VHS of like whatever. So that was weird, but he ended up buying a few things. I think he picked up Princess Tomato.
Oh, nice.
For the NES. So yeah, got some stuff. I didn't anything too crazy. I think I ended up getting a comic, the first issue of the Game Boy comic. Apparently there was like 6 comic series that Nintendo did back in the day. And that was kind of the one I wanted, was issue number 1. Got a cool cover. I'll never read it, but I'll look at it on the shelf. So another Comic-Con down. Hopefully it survives another year. People that enjoy it. I don't know. Doesn't seem like that's sustainable at their current trajectory, but you know, maybe I'll give them a little bit of credit. Maybe coming out of the pandemic, it was a little rough, but
I mean, at the end of the day, it can only be so big for the area anyway.
Right. Yeah. And the group that puts that on, we have like an area group or an area organization that tends to put on like a lot of small functions of this sort throughout the year, where perhaps it would be better focused to do one large or 2 a year tops.
Mm-hmm.
Again, not my place to say, but sure seems like that might be the better bet.
Fairgrounds is a weird choice because, I mean, that's kind of way out there too.
Yeah, it's like an industrial part of town. Like that's what we were talking about when we were out there. It's like, can you imagine being like one of these D-list celebrities who's like going around trying to get Comic-Con money? You land and then they drive you out to like the shittiest part of the town where there's nowhere to go. There's no escape. There's no restaurants. There's no hotels. There's no public transportation. You are like in a barn, essentially, in this Midwest hellhole. yeah, it's yeah, not the greatest. And I don't know what the answer is there. I mean, there's definitely got to be a balance between budget and location, and I don't know that they struck the right chord with that one.
Yeah.
Certainly, it beats some of the qualities that our previous hotel, which would flood from the ceiling every time it rained, which was fun. We had some experience there. Oh, we're gonna set up a swap meet. Oh, should we do that after the rain stops from the ceiling or not? Because yeah, I will say, like, it was cool to get out, go to an event like that, feel pretty comfortable. After a pandemic, most people weren't masked. It felt normal-ish. It was kind of actually exciting a little bit. So I don't know.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
And then you have MGC coming up this weekend already. So
yeah, the Midwest Gaming Classic, it is coming back. So I'm taking my entire family. It's a weird thing because, like, we were just there last fall in November, which was an odd time for that convention. Usually it's in the spring. And then it happens to be in April again here, and you're not able to make it. Some of the other people we normally go with weren't able to make it. It's always been kind of like a boys trip, right? Like, get away for the weekend, and nobody could really go. And I was like, you know what? My kids are the right age. Most people aren't going to make it. So this is the year. Like, if I'm going to bring them, try it out, see if they're interested, we'll go, bring the fam. So that's what we're doing. We're headed down to Milwaukee. I'll be leaving Thursday night, get there Friday for the preview night, get to play some games, limited tickets, limited people, take advantage of the arcade. And then Saturday we'll do the full thing. And Biff will be there too with his family. He's a little more reluctant on his family actually enjoying it. So he's like, I'm going to be all alone. They're going to abandon me. I'm like, well, I'm going to be with my family, buddy. So no, he'll be around. So yeah, it should be fun. I'm looking forward to it. I kind of seeing it through my kids' eyes, I think, because I've done it so many times that a lot of that is just kind of numb to me. It's neat, but curious to see how like an 8 and 10-year-old react to it.
Oh, for sure. And then being able to just go up and play whatever you want to.
Yeah.
If I was a kid, that would be awesome. Sure.
Yeah, I'm thinking it'll be a good time. We'll have to see.
Now, I know my kids would be, if I brought them anywhere near the vendor hall, they would just be begging and pointing and saying, I want this. Look at that thing. That's cool. Let's get that.
Yep. It's going to be a problem. It's going to be expensive. Yeah. We gave my kids a little bit of cash for Easter and said it was for MGC. I gave my kids some tasks on things I wanted them to have memorized as far as like things like schoolwork, addresses, phone numbers this week, which they've accomplished. So they got an extra $20 kicker.
Wow.
But I imagine that isn't going to matter. And I'm still going to spend hundreds of dollars on Jigglypuff marshmallows and Pokemon cards. And on the plus side, I don't really intend to buy anything unless there's a Jaguar game or homebrew. And considering my annual budget and what that used to be on games, I think I can afford to like suck it up. So
yeah,
it'll be all right. I am curious though, like what they're going to gravitate to. There's just so much like cutesy dumb shit that my daughter's going to love. It's all so expensive. I don't know what to think with my son. Curious. It's probably going to be mostly Pokemon cards, but yeah.
Yeah. I mean, all those Etsy type shops that are there, it's like, this is cool. And it's a $40 premium on what it should be. But
I have convinced my son that we're going to go to my friends of the podcast that run the Guys, Games, and Beer podcast. My son's 8, and I'm going to walk in and start talking to one of them. That'll be the cue for my son to like come up and tap the random person that they've never met and be like, give me a damn beer. And then I'm just waiting for that reaction to see what they say, but we'll see. We'll see if he has the courage to do it, but it could be pretty hilarious. So.
Yeah, definitely Larry if he's there.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Yeah. Any one of those guys, Larry, Tom, or Rob, would just be like, what the heck's going on? So yeah, it'll be good to see those guys. it's just going to get back. Like, and it's nice that potentially there's just not going to be a blizzard. Temperatures are like way too iffy though. Like this is still like could get super screwed weather-wise territory, which is bizarre for almost May. Like the fact that it was like freezing here last night shouldn't happen at this point in the year.
No, it's pretty bad when there's still like ice on the lakes. You're like, oh shit.
Yeah. Yeah, I was like in the ditch where I get on and off for work. There had been some geese out there, Canadian geese, and one of them was just dead in the ditch. And I don't think anything murdered it. I think it was just that depressed that it just like hung itself and was like, no, I can't deal with this. It's supposed to be spring.
Yeah.
There should be water here, not ice.
Yeah. When I was a kid, this was fine. I don't know what happened.
Fuck migrating. It's over. Yeah. I don't know. It's weird. I was kind of looking forward to it and thinking like, man, we're going to get there. It's going to be like upper 60s, low 70s. It's going to be perfect, t-shirt to and from the convention. But now I'm looking at it. It's like, nah, it's going to be like 50 there and rainy. So still going to need at least a sweatshirt, if not a coat. So.
Oh, yeah. We're going to have like 1 week of spring and then it's going to be
90,
85. Yeah.
Miserable. Yeah. When you lose that buffer in the spring and the fall where you don't have to heat or cool anything, that has a big economic impact. Yeah. Especially right now with prices and stuff. So, well, and speaking of miserable, we started a new game together.
Yeah.
On Game Pass. It's called ARK. Survival Evolved. The game's been around forever. We just decided to give it a shot since it's supposed to be optimized for the Series X. And I don't know, you and I have put the most time into it. I think aside from the upfront like 3.5 hour struggle to just find each other and not be eaten by something, it's been going okay.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how you describe it. It's kind of like, I don't know, Minecraft meets Valheim, I guess, maybe. Or Valheim probably was inspired by ARK, so that's probably bad. But crafty, survivey with dinosaurs and technology.
Yeah.
Like the ARK is cool because you go from like naked person to I have a jetpack towards the end of that, right?
Yeah, it's there's a lot of shit in that game that you see and you're like, wow, that's on a whole other level of what we have going on, to the guy that's, running around in his underwear, just shitting on the ground.
Yeah. I love that it's just like a random shit game too. Like everything just poops on a cycle for some reason. And there's always like a big fart with it too.
Yeah, that game.
Yeah, I feel like I'll go ahead.
I'm having a lot of fun with it. It's definitely one of those games where the feedback loop of just, oh, you built this, now you can build this. This could get a little bit better. It's always going to pull you in and try and improve things, and it's one of those games for sure. Yeah, for sure. I think like there's definite walls. Like we hit that early upfront wall where it was like just the struggle to stay alive and build a sustainable like place to respawn. So like we broke through that wall. I feel like we're doing good. Then we got to like a spot where we're like, okay, we can build a better base here. We're safe. Then we got slightly spoiled by like, I call him like Robo Jesus is kind of how I refer to him now. It was basically a guy with like a green and red spaceship sleigh who flew down from the sky in a spacesuit, jumped out and like handed us all sorts of cool stuff like guns, birds to fly on, robotic T-Rexes. Nothing like completely game breaking, but enough to make the early monotony of building a sustainable homestead achievable, I guess is probably the way to look at it. And like we've done that now, and now it's like, oh, we have all this stuff, but now we're up against a wall again where I feel like I'm just going online to maintain that. Like I'm just getting online, spending 2 hours getting chores done, right? Like I'm choring, I'm getting rocks, I'm getting thatch, I'm getting wood, and it's just like, because I got to feed the damn animals. So I guess I got to go take my T-Rex and eat a bunch of stuff. So I have steak for everybody. And it's just, I don't know. We got to get over that next hump, and that's where I'm struggling. Yeah, that's the one part that I'm not the biggest fan of. It seems like there's even, maybe there's something way at the end game, but it seems like everything has a timer. There's nothing, even like just light. Just basic light, you still have to put wood in and burn the wood.
Yes.
And you would think at some point, just make it expensive, whatever, but let me have permanent light.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. Like everything is a resource suck. And like we were talking a little bit when we played this week, like I don't feel like it's as exhausting as like a No Man's Sky, where like there's 10 things just to my critical character survival that I need to maintain. But it's enough that in our small tribe, you almost need one person who's just like the gopher each time, right? Like, because it's not feasible to just get out and everyone goes on an adventure. Like it just doesn't work. It would all collapse. So
yeah. Well, and just the meat too. You got to get the meat, and then it spoils by the time you come back. And
yeah, and I got you crafting drums and like banging away on them when we could be doing productive things. I don't know what's happening over there.
Well, you got to buy. I mean, you have to pick the stupidest things that you can. I saw a toilet in there, but those are really expensive.
I do enjoy that Biff's character is still like passed out from when he like got disconnected from the server. So I've just like drug his corpse and threw it like sideways on a bed, and he's just like laying there crumpled on the floor. Pretty fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot to like. It's a little more rewarding than Minecraft, but it's also not as like zen as Minecraft for the same reasons, right?
Yeah.
So,
well, and then, when you do die, it's the Dark Souls. You have to go back to your body to get your stuff back. And I have had a few instances now where it's just been all of a sudden you're just spending an hour getting back to your body and trying to figure out a way to get your inventory back and get away from the animals that killed you.
Yes.
And that's, I mean, it's interesting and it's kind of a fun way to, I don't know, build up a tense atmosphere, but you're not really gaining anything after an hour, Right.
Frustration.
Yeah.
Frustration is what you're getting. Yeah.
Like,
yeah. I don't like that aspect either. And like, just like the instant ability, like you said, from a Dark Souls perspective, to go from comfortable to dead in just a blink of an eye is so frustrating.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I guess that's one thing that this game does pretty well is that at the very beginning, it's almost impossible to survive. And I'm surprised that they have it like that, because I would think a lot of new people would get, oh, what's this game? Especially on Game Pass. And then just die immediately over and over and over and be like, well, fuck this game.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, that was certainly the most frustrating component, was just that first day of you and I. Because there's like, it's different, I guess, if we would have joined like a player hosted game. But we didn't want to do that because we wanted to have multiple people. So we went with an online public server, for anyone who's wondering. So there's really no way in that scenario to pinpoint where your allies are on a map from the get-go. So you're basically like giving general coordinates based on the in-game map, trying to run there, hoping you're not obstructed, and then hoping nothing eats you along the way, that's not even something you can hope for. Like factually, it's going to happen and it's going to suck. I think the first time you and I got within eye shot of each other, I had managed to swim out into the water and like run out of stamina. So you basically just got to watch me drown. So that was frustrating. And then I had to respawn and like try to find my way back. But yeah, I don't know. I'm enjoying it though.
Yeah. But once you finally get the armor and the weapons, and then you are able to survive encounters, then it feels good. You're like, oh, I can take on anything. Yeah. And then you can take on anything until you immediately can't. And then you're like, oh, this is not, I can't do this. And I'm dead now.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. The overconfidence hits you pretty hard. What I'd like to do is like, I'd like us to get a little bit more proficient in the game on this base version. And then I want us to switch over to Genesis 2, like that mod. And then I think we start at that point with like fully equipped, like, exoskeletons and jetpacks.
Okay.
And then your mission is basically then to complete in-game holographic like scenario missions to like beat the game. So it should be a lot more fun without a lot of these startup struggles. So we'll have to, I think we'll have to start there eventually, but get a little bit better first.
Yeah. Well, it also didn't help that when we started, we must have been on some like event multiplayer.
Yeah.
Where all the resources, we were getting a lot more than I think you usually
XP.
do.
Yes.
And yeah, it's the past few days going on there and you're getting 4 stone instead of 12 every time. That's a little disheartening.
I mean, I played 3 hours last night. I didn't level up once.
Right.
Like, that's crazy.
Yeah.
We were leveling up like 4 times every hour before.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's going to be tough. That is true. Oh, yeah, that damn Easter event. We're too generous to us.
Yeah. I'm going to keep going on it, but
yeah, I like it too. I won't be on for a while because MGC, but I'm excited. And I know what you're excited about. You text me about it. You were so excited. It made me spend money for some foolish reason.
I think it's a pretty smart reason.
I agree. I concur.
For whatever reason, GameStop decided to get out of the Atari VCS business, I think.
Probably because no one's buying them. I'm guessing that's the reason.
But it was a last-ditch effort style of clearance. Where,
AKA bloodbath. Yeah. Fire sale, some might say.
Yeah, normally $400 they were selling them for $100. And that was up for a good chunk of the morning.
Yeah, so that was the for anyone who's not familiar, that was the crowdfunded, kickstarted new Atari console that came out like 18 months ago. Started trickling out to backers' hands. And this was the bundle with that console, with the classic controller and a pro controller of sorts. It looks like the 360. So it was the ultimate bundle, right?
Yep.
And yeah, you texted me about it and said you jumped in, and then I was like, well, for $99.
Have to.
I'm curious. It's like a low budget, not as reliable, sort of shitty NVIDIA Shield. Why not buy that for $100?
Well, it comes with 100 Atari games. That's only $1 a game.
Man.
Still too much for those. But.
It's so worth it. But you can pay $40 a year for that subscription for the thing that I'm sure is not going to last.
So I did end up setting it up today.
Okay. How was it? Painful? Painless?
Scary, I'll say, because you boot it up and then the Bluetooth takes some weird stuff to get going.
Okay.
Finally got it connected, and then it does the whole, checking for updates. We found 4 updates, and then, 45 minutes later, it's downloaded all the updates. Then it restarts. The Atari screen, or the logo comes on, and then it was a black screen for 20 minutes.
No shit.
Yeah. So,
oh my God, what an experience.
Yeah, exactly.
Premium quality. Way to go, Atari.
And I don't know what's going on because the fan was just going on and off and on. So I'm like, I don't know if it messed up the BIOS and it was doing the reboot loop. So I'm like on.
Dude, how many people unplug it in that 20 minutes and just wreck that console?
So I figured it was bricked or I had to do something. So I'm like, on Reddit finding all these threads of like black screen of death and all this blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh shit, this is bad. And then my wife comes down like, hey, your thing turned on. I'm like, what? So I run down there. Sure enough, it worked. And then
oh my God.
And then as soon as it goes on there, it's like you press the button, get the controller back on, and it's like, okay, we're gonna flash the BIOS, and then it shuts down again. It's like, oh no.
Oh, that sounds like hell. I can't wait to experience this.
It was unbelievable that they don't have some messaging that's like, hey, just we're doing something here. Hold on.
It's like the Windows circle, right? Like anything. Something to indicate that it's working on something. So when you finally get in, like, I've heard you need to create an account. Is that part of it too? You have to go through an account setup process and all that shit?
Yeah, I didn't do that. You can log in as a guest. So I did that right away just to get in. And It only shows the only thing on there is the vault, the Atari VCS vault, which is like the free Atari games that you get with it, which you also have to download. So that took a while, which is
that's not free.
It's not even.
What's the total size of that?
It was over a gig, which is crazy.
No, really?
Yeah.
Ow. Oh, that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, that thing should just be preloaded on the hard drive. Like, I don't understand that, but
that should be embedded in fucking pennies minted at like the government level. It should just exist. There's no data there.
Yep.
Like, that doesn't make any sense to me. So what grand games do you get in this 100 games?
Okay.
Some heavy hitters?
So we get a lot of the, basic ones, but there are surprising ones that aren't in there. Like you're not going to find Pac-Man, and it's pretty much anything that isn't just Atari. You're not going to find. They didn't license Pitfall. They didn't, do any of that
stuff.
There's
no Activision?
No.
Oh my gosh. So it's garbage, basically.
They do have arcade versions of a lot of their stuff, which is cool.
Okay.
Warlords and, Breakout and all that stuff.
Tempest, please tell me you get Tempest.
Yes, Tempest is on there.
Okay. So, and you can use the little spin thing on the stick.
So that part I was not aware of was a thing, which really
that's
surprised
like the selling point for me is like Tempest with like a turn knob. Sounds phenomenal.
Yep, it is ultra sensitive, so it takes some getting used to, but yeah, that part is really cool.
That's almost worth $100 then.
Yeah.
25 of them bucks anyway.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. And we just played a few Atari games, and that's where we went from there. But it is funny.
Do you do 2-player at all?
Yeah, so if you go on their store or whatever, it's like all the apps, and they have pretty much all the streaming apps available for the thing.
Sure, because it's just a PC, right? Like, it's not native to... Yeah, okay, gotcha.
But I think it's hilarious that to be watching Netflix on an Atari.
So, like, what's the shop like? Is there a quote-unquote shop, and what's on it, if there is?
I was really confused by that, because some of the games that you get in the Atari Vault are on the shop for like 99 cents each.
So they're trying to like double dip you.
Yeah. I don't know what the point of that is. Also, they don't have, well, I guess they probably can't do 5,200 games, but the 7,800 games are not free. So those are all paid for in the store if you want any 7,800 stuff.
Is Ninja Golf on there, and how much is it?
I didn't check that. Might be
a purchase.
But there are some other newer stuff on there too. Like, Tempest 4000 is on there, and that.
Sure, but that's like stuff that's already existed on like current gen consoles.
Yeah, in like Sydney Hunter, that's around, and it's kind of that stuff. People that are like. So
really, nothing exclusive or uniquely notable.
I don't know. I think there's some like reimagined Atari stuff on there. Like, I think there's
sure, but that stuff's also hitting Steam.
Okay, so yeah, it's the same stuff as that, I'm sure.
Huh. Interesting. But then there's the whole aspect of like throwing a USB drive in that thing and like opening the PC mode, right?
Right. Which I
do that and flip over to it's a Linux kernel of some sort, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know how that exactly works, because that's also an app that you download. So I don't know if it boots up into the Atari OS and then you go.
From what I've read, you have to go into the Atari OS before you can flip over, which seems like unnecessarily cumbersome, right?
Sure, yeah. So you must not be able to change the boot sequence on it from the start anyway. Oh.
Yeah. It's such a bizarre package too when you get it. Like, because it's so no frills, the box, like retro style logo, and there's like all sorts of nods to Asteroid on like all the packaging, which is arguably well done. But then like every piece of branding on that box is like Atari plus full PC plus streaming 4K. And it's like, you guys knew that you made like bullshit. Like,
it literally doesn't tell you exactly what games you get with it at all.
Right.
Or if you get
like
games.
They acknowledged it was so much bullshit that they even printed it that way in the box.
Yeah.
you know, and the pitch was like, this will be the resurgence and rebirth of Atari. It's going to be this console. It's like, no, you guys made like a budget PC that runs like a stripped down version of Linux. And like, from what I've heard, like their proprietary OS is like pretty unstable or like highly unstable from some people. So
like you think it bricked? Unstable? Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Like takes 85 minutes and then installs the BIOS after that. Weird. Yeah. Well, I'm glad you got it installed because I was curious because like I didn't want to be the first one to do it because I had watched some tutorial videos on that too. And it was like, yeah, everything looked uncomfortably like reset-y, drawn out, not good. So,
yeah.
Oh, at least it worked for you.
Yeah. I don't know. For $100, if you can get it for $100, I'd totally recommend it. But 400 for that thing seems insane.
Yeah. Well, and like I said to you, I'm still hoping I can flip it over to PC mode, get Steam Link on it, and like play some of my games. Like that's my ultimate goal with it. I also think that there's zero chance that won't go up in value if you preserve your box and like all your, you know what I mean? Like you're making money at $100, like for sure.
This was like one of the few things that I was like, I got to save the plastic bag for this one.
Exactly. The twist ties must remain intact, but who would know? I'll know.
Yep.
I'll know. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I told my wife that too. I was like, I need to keep this mint. Like this is important.
Yep.
This means something.
Something. Yeah, it's I mean, it looks cool. And the controllers are the controller is really cool.
I was actually, so I obviously haven't turned it on, but like I took that Pro controller out and like played around with it and like, yeah, it was very tactile. And actually much better built than I was expecting.
Yeah. I have an Xbox one that's just like that one. So I feel like
really?
It must be the same company that maybe makes it for
Power
me.
A.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it felt pretty good. And you can sync 360 controllers and stuff to it too, right? Yep. Like, cause it's just Bluetooth. Yep. So
you can even, one of the apps in there is even like Xbox Cloud Gaming. So you must be able to do.
Oh shit. No shit.
Game Pass streaming through it. I'm not sure.
Well, if that's the case, then yeah, I'm going to use that. I'll have to mount that to my bedroom TV.
It would be
ARK in bed.
It would be nice if they just put the Steam Link app on there. That would be perfect, but.
Right. I wonder why they don't. You already got the xCloud, then what's the difference?
Yeah.
Huh. Weird. Yeah, it was cool. I'm glad you texted me because like I would have missed out on it. And I saw a few other people buying them. I saw Chris from Stone Age Gamer. They're on Geekade as well, of course. Yeah, he got the deal as well. So yeah, I think anyone who had like nostalgia for Atari and a passing interest in this bizarre like reboot of this this hardware, $99 is a good deal.
Oh yeah.
Compare that to the clearance prices of like the Ouya at $60. Like this is at least functional as a PC, where the Ouya was just a brick. Literally and figuratively.
Oh, exactly.
Yeah. So I don't know if I told you about this, but I text Biff. And there's I'm not going to get the full name. I'm not going to look it up, but there was a Mario Brothers anime that came out only in Japan around 1986. And it's like something Princess Peach, whatever. But some group had found the original 16 millimeter or an original 16 millimeter version of this, which is presumed to be one of few that might exist or possibly the only one. And anyway, they converted it to 4K, like went through and remastered it. And this is up on YouTube now. And it's basically like an hour-long movie.
Really?
Mario Brothers movie that predates like everything we know, right? Because like as kids, Mario had only existed in the West, at least Super Mario Brothers, since 85. And yeah, it's really good. The runtime's about an hour. I watched through it once myself and then once with my son. It's a little bit rough for the kids because it's dubbed, and dubbing is fast because, the text is pretty fast, but really well done. Like I highly recommend anyone going to look for it. You can just search for Mario anime 4K. You should be able to find it. But what's interesting to me in watching this is knowing that at the time, even in Japan, there was only one game in the series, right? We hadn't gotten to 2, or even Japan's version of 2. We hadn't gotten to 3. And there's a lot of nods and stuff in this one to things that wouldn't exist until later games. So I'm really curious in watching it if Nintendo had a hand in like directing that, or if that influence kind of went forward into Nintendo's design. There's airships, there's Koopa kid sort of things. There's, I don't know, all these little things that just didn't appear. And it kind of makes me wonder. And also, for whatever reason, I think it's the birth of Wario. Luigi in this one, due to the tint, it looks purple and yellow, but it's blue and yellow. If you look at Mario's outfit, he wears that outfit and he is obsessed with gold. He's obsessed with gold the whole time. On the entire adventure, all he's doing is mining for gold. That's all he cares about. And I'd argue that those are the seeds for what would become Wario.
Yeah.
And yeah, like there's like this really cheesy guitar, like rock soundtrack throughout the whole thing that even in Japanese is like super catchy. And me and my son were just like nodding our head to it every time it would come up. And there's just like some really dumb humor. Like, Luigi hits his head on a block, coins come out, Mario jumps up and it just spews cups of ramen out for them to eat. And yeah, it's a really fun little thing. Koopa gets portrayed in like an interesting way, I would say. And then at the end of the day, they all get snubbed and the princess leaves Mario for like a hotter, legitimate king in the Toad Kingdom.
Oh, makes sense.
So, yeah.
So was Toad in there at all?
Yeah.
Okay.
But Toad is a woman.
Okay.
Who is very tall.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. It's real weird. Real tall. Real feminine. There's some other Toad people that they get power-ups through, and I'm guessing it's a nod to the different stages. But yeah, the character is not developed in the way that Toad would become at all. And there's a dog, a little blue dog, for some reason.
Yeah. Well,
yeah, it's cool.
It's weird that, really all of that stuff really didn't become standard until 64 was really when it was actually Peach.
Right. Yeah, it's true.
Otherwise, it was all Toadstool and King Koopa. It
was all different between Game Boy, between Super Nintendo, and yeah, it's very well done. Like, I mean, again, I haven't seen the original version, but like the updated version is great. Like, if you're a fan of even that original US series, this is probably better than that, I'd say.
Huh. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna.
I can't get Peach's scream though out of my head. It's like the Japanese, so it's like Mario.
Oh,
and she's always like screaming that, and it's just like, it's the stuff of nightmares. Help me, Mario! It's crazy. But yeah, go watch it. You put it on for your kids too. I mean, granted, they'll probably get bored and like leave the room, but they might find some fun at least the first 15 minutes.
Yeah, I'll try it out.
And for whatever reason, the brothers run a convenience store, like supermarket, and they aren't plumbers. I don't know. Hard to explain. Not fully fledged characters at that point, I guess.
Did you see this new Sonic game that's coming out, or collection?
That collection? Yeah, when I was at Comic-Con, I did see it. It was $17 on the DS, and it contained 4 classic Sonic games, which is exactly $23 cheaper than the thing that I'm going to be able to buy digitally in 2 months. So I did. Did you see that Sega lost its damn mind and forgot that they poured out all those games in like 85 collections every year for the last 10 years?
I think they did. Mm-hmm. And they're actually taking them off now.
Oh,
They're they're actually removing those games, those ported games from all the digital stores. So you won't be
unless
able
you're going to come into my game room and smash the 85 discs I have in my collection with all those games, I think I'm all right. Like I'll fare probably just fine.
Yeah. The crazy part about that is all the bonus features and things that you have to pay extra for, depending on what
DLC, right?
Like and
it's not even good shit.
Like animations
it's like
and menu
screen borders.
Yeah, menu music.
Yeah. Like, I get what they're doing. Like, I get the hype trains there because Sonic's out and it's a quick cash grab. But like, do it right? Like, do something that means something. Port Sonic Jam to current consoles. You know what I mean? Like, emulate that. Like, bring that over. That's cool. You know, give us Sonic frickin' CD. Like, why is that not on there? That's bullcrap.
Yeah.
You know, put the Game Boy versions in. The Sonic Mega Collections on the GameCube that came out, 20 years ago are a better value by far than this. There's just no point. And if they were doing like, let's say they were giving it like the Streets of Rage 4 treatment, where it was like the classics, but not like that, I could get behind more than what they're doing here. They're just saying like, we're going to clean up the visuals, but they're essentially just giving us the ROMs.
For the most part. I mean, they're adding a few little things here and there, but it's nothing. And, they did try that with Sonic 4 and they failed at that, so.
Sure. Yeah, I don't know. Like, if this was $20 or if this was $25, I'd be like, yeah, okay. 30 physically, I get it. But $40 digital, all the like dumb features are behind extra paywalls. Sonic, Sega tends to forget that Sonic hasn't been good in like 20 years. Right? Like there's a couple exceptions, but for the most part, Sonic hasn't been good since like Adventure. So who are they trying to fool here?
I'm cautiously optimistic about the next new one. If it's like a true open world, that could be kind of cool in a Sonic.
Yeah, and I think they've had some high notes. I think Colors was all right. I think that Sonic, what was the one that I'm always a big defender of that came out not that long ago? Sonic Heroes, is that right?
That one's pretty good. Generations is really good.
Yeah, I think those are all fine.
I know you're a big fan of Sonic and the Black Knight, was it? Or the Secret?
Nope. Secret Rings? Nope.
Yeah, you were a big fan of that. Day one purchase, right?
Yeah, day one return. Lost my ass on that. Yep. Thanks, IGN. You stupid bastards. Yep. No, there's been a lot of trash. Those Game Boy Advance games were good. Mm-hmm. I've heard the DS Rush series was good.
Yeah, those are cool. I mean, those were more cool because he went on the top screen and below and, all that stuff. But.
Yeah. The one on the Neo Geo Pocket Color that I have is good. There's just Sega was not capable of figuring out 3D gaming, especially in the platforming space. So Sonic has never really had a fair shake at like getting there compared to most mascots of his caliber.
Yeah.
Even like, Adventure and Adventure 2 were functionally all right. Like they're train wrecks in comparison to like a Mario.
They don't, and they don't hold up real well either.
No.
I wonder if
not at
have
all.
they announced a Mania too? I don't think they have.
I could see them. I mean, it makes sense to do one, but so much of Mania is just like cleaned up, rehashed versions of the originals. It's like, is he going to take the effort to like make a fully fledged from the ground up game? I don't know.
Yeah, and how much nostalgia goes past, Green Hill, Chemical Plant, Casino, that stuff is like, oh yeah, everybody remembers those. And then after that, you get to the lesser ones. That's like, well, okay, the deep cuts, but there was plenty of deep cuts in that game too. But
dude, you know what Sega should do is work with that group that put out that Nickelodeon Brawl and just be like, hey, do that for us. It'd be like Sonic Brawlers transformed. Because I'd take like B-list or C-list Sonic Smash. Somebody could do it like okay. Have like Shenmue.
Oh, he's
Space Harrier guy.
Yeah.
The Yakuza dude.
Mm-hmm.
Be fun. Get some of the Jet Set Grind radio people. Yep. Bring back that car from Daytona, USA from the whatever Ultra Mix game. It can be good, man.
Alex Kidd and his giant fist.
Yeah. Abomination. Yeah, I don't know. It's so tough because like on paper, it's a cool idea. I like that Sony or Sega's doing it, but it's just like, they just eroded any value that those old games had by constantly doing collections, constantly like partnering with @games to make like clearance machines that ended up in Walgreens, and not good.
Yeah, and then at the same time, what they just announced that they were, at least the rumor is that they're making big budget Jet Grind.
For them, big budget. Yeah, Jet Grind and Crazy Taxi, but they want to go on to a like sustainable ongoing business model similar to like a Fortnite. And I'm like, how do you do that with either one of those things? Because neither one of those things has like the appeal to the masses that I would argue that like a Fortnite or a Call of Duty has, right?
What if you could do it in the same city though? Crazy Taxi and Jet Grind at the same time.
So there's two games going on. It's like a game within a game. All right. I can get behind that. Can I kick somebody out of their taxi cab as like Jet and then just like keep driving? Steal their fare? Because that would be awesome.
Special points if you can grind on the taxi as he rolls by.
I was going to say, and then tag a tramp stamp on the passenger and like bounce. See ya.
But only like Levi's and KFC tattoos. Yeah.
Right. Yes. Thanks. Yep. While listening to The Offspring. Yeah. I don't know how much is going to come of that, but I could care less about other Crazy Taxi. I think that ran its course, but I could get behind seeing where Jet Grind went. I think both of those, the first one and the Xbox One were both great games. Weird, quirky games, but great games. Yeah. Well, speaking of Sega stuff too, I actually I ordered. So there's this company Intech that makes a bunch of aftermarket arcade boards for arcade 1-ups. So I had ordered one. They make a whole line of them. You can get them that'll partner with like mini consoles, the Switch, the PS4, the Xbox, the NES. I ordered the one because I don't play a lot of Genesis. I ordered the one that is literally like a drop-in board. You put the connections in, configure it a little bit, and then it has a built-in Genesis slot.
Really?
And it works with the first gen of Arcade 1-Up. So I basically decided like I didn't need my Mortal Kombat. Like I wasn't playing it. Plus you can play Mortal Kombat on Genesis. So that's the one I chose to Frankenstein. And then they give you a bunch of like overlays that like definitely are pirated and don't match the actual properties, but like kind of match. So I put that on and then I ordered a cheap $30 201 cartridge off of Amazon. Not that I don't have a few Genesis games on hand, and works incredibly well. Like $130 for the Genesis control stick. You can just use it as a standalone console too, HDMI to your TV. It would be fine. But yeah, works flawlessly. Actually, for a bootleg console, it doesn't have issues with sounds. At least from the games I've played, the sound design is like spot on and emulation is good. The build quality is as good, if not better, than what you get with the base Arcade 1-Up, which isn't saying a lot. I'll admit that. But yeah, we've been having a ton of fun with that. My son and I have been going out there and just like playing through some games. There's on that bootleg one I've got, there's a Wonder Boy 3 arcade version, or maybe it's like a Genesis exclusive version, where it's basically like 2-player. You alternate between stages of like platforming and then like a end boss side-scrolling shooter.
Huh.
So that's been a big hit. Been going through Rocket Knight. Sadly, on the cartridge I have, Zombies Ate My Neighbors does not load past the title screen, which is a bummer. Huh. Been doing like Sunset Riders, a lot of Sonic too. Sonic and Sonic 2. Yeah, it's cool.
It has joysticks then too. Okay.
Yep. It's basically 2 joysticks and then 6 buttons. So you got like the full 6-button configuration for a Genesis.
And the slot is like by the sticks then?
Yep, up by the screen. It also comes with a really cheap, but probably works, Master System adapter. So you can pop that in there, put a Master System game in. Kind of a nice touch, completely unnecessary because most people aren't going to know what the hell that's for, right? But it's there. And yeah, you get a power button, volume button, and then both players get a start, select, and then there's a reset button. So
sure.
It's I don't know. I mean, granted, I know people are going to be like, well, that's dumb. You can throw a pie in there. I get it. I totally get it. But for 30 minutes of me dicking around, hooking it up, this thing works really well. I can put the cabinet back to how it was. No problem. I don't have to drill any holes. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's slick. I put that pie in mine, and it seems like it works okay. I don't know, but I did that, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's going to be awesome. And then I haven't played it hardly at all.
Right.
The kids do, which you would think, having split screen 2-player on a cocktail for a lot of these games would be really cool. And it is when you play those games, but whenever I'm over there, my son is like playing Mario RPG or something like that from SNES, which, probably, I don't think he knows how to do any save states or anything like that. So it's starting over every time he plays it too. It's just, it's funny. Yeah.
Well, that's the thing with any of these things, right? Like once you like crack them to be like the ultimate machine, like I don't know what it is, but like, it's sort of true that like the freedom of choice equals diminishing returns in terms of gaming things like that. I've noticed, when you have everything, you play nothing.
Yep.
But if I had a Nintendo and 3 games, I'd be the king of all those 3 games. You know what I mean? So it's like this weird catch-22 sort of thing. And, now that you bring it up, the save state thing. So that cartridge I ordered, I've noticed there's a giant watch battery in there. And now there are a bunch of like RPG games on there, which theoretically that battery is there for me to do save states. But I also think there's an equal probability that that battery is there to flash the ROM memory that is on board that cart. And once that battery dies, it's going to be like, go back to Amazon, buy another one. So I'm a little afraid of that. But I guess if I get a year out of it for $30, it'll be fine. I can always just pony up the cash and get like an EverDrive.
Yeah.
I was actually looking, you can get like bootleg Chinese like EverDrive clone things for not that expensive on Amazon too. So, and I haven't looked on AliExpress, probably even cheaper there.
That's cool though. I didn't even know those existed.
Yeah, it's been relatively new. I want to say the last 3 months they've started kind of coming out, but yeah, it's neat. You can get one that'll actually hook in all your mini consoles through adapters. So like you could hook up your NES Classic, Super Nintendo Classic, TurboGrafx 16, Neo Geo, the Genesis one. It's all just different adapters. So pretty cool. I when you look at the ones that are like hooking up to Switch and especially PS4, it's like, well, what are you doing there? Like, because it's a budget screen. Like, why would you want to do that to yourself?
Especially with the joystick on a lot of games too.
Yeah. But I think like, that sweet spot's definitely like the Genesis. Like it looks really good on that cheap screen and gives me way more options than I'd had otherwise. Cause I want a fighting game. I've still got the Street Fighter cabinet next to it.
Yeah.
And the Marvel one next to that.
Yeah.
Better games as far as I'm concerned.
That's cool.
Yeah. Worked out pretty good. I was pleasantly surprised. I had very low expectations and exceeded it. So we'll see how it holds up. Speaking of holding up, movies. Sometimes things don't hold up. Sometimes they reboot franchises. Not sometimes, always.
Most of the time.
And in this case, I'm talking about The Batman. Because, we need another Batman series because we just got done with Batman. Well, I guess there's been some really bad Batman movies from DC that kind of muddied that water. But I did watch that, The Batman, with Twinkly Boy from Twilight, Robert Pattinson, which I stand by that he's a very good actor. I've seen him in a lot of stuff outside of those movies, and he's good. I didn't know how he would be as Batman. The Batman is very good, though. I will say, I think I'm not going to order them because I think people will probably make their own order, but I think that's a top 3 Batman movie for me. I liked it better than a couple entries from the previous series. And it I think it's going to be a polarizing movie, right? Because it's like you've got the mainstream audiences who are now like sucking at the teat of Marvel, right? And a superhero movie, according to what Marvel does, is it should be nonstop blowy stuff up, joke, haha, more blowy stuff up. You know what I mean? Like drama, music, and like, okay, like, yeah, that's what superhero movies are to you. But like when you really boil down the essence of Batman and like that character, I mean, Batman is like he's a rich kid Dick Tracy, right? Like they're always supposed to be like noir crime dramas, but a guy with unlimited money and the ability to build like the devices he needs to get the job done, right? He's not truly a superhero. And I think that's kind of the spot that this movie fills. It's very much that. You're not going to find outlandish stuff. You're not going to find like huge explosions. You're going to find like a slow moving, corrupt cop drama. That it probably could be shorter. I'll admit it's 2.5 hours long, I think, but at the end of the day, it was very entertaining and well done. They set the groundwork pretty well for that world. The whole point of this, and from the opening, it's made clear that Batman really isn't established yet. Yes, there is a Batman. He goes by Vengeance throughout this movie because it's the first 2 years of him being the Batman, basically.
Oh, sure.
He's still figuring it out. So from that perspective, it's either going to land with people or it's not, but I think overall what they did was really smart and it was entertaining. It's a movie that like, because of like its nature and it being like a detective drama more so than an action movie, requires a little more attention from its watcher and its viewer. You have to pay attention to names and characters and piece things together, but I don't think it's a worse movie for it. Like asking you to like be a little more involved than shoving popcorn in your face during a Marvel movie and going, gah, gah,
Yep.
It's probably not too much to ask. So I recommend it.
Yeah, that's good to hear because I was interested in seeing what they would do because I feel like I'm kind of fatigued. Well, just on superhero stuff in general, but especially the Batman because it's just like, here we go again. We're making another Batman with a different person. Like, I think when Ben Affleck did Batman, I don't even think he had his own Batman movie, right? I'm pretty sure he didn't.
No,
but he was still Batman and all this other shit.
Which he didn't deserve. Because I saw that movie he was in, Spider-Man or Superman, and that was complete trash.
That movie is awful.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say this one's most akin to like when you boil down, what was the name of the last one in the trilogy?
Dark Knight Rises.
Christian Bale. Yeah. I would say it's most akin to that, where that movie essentially boils down to, again, a noir, like detective cop drama, minus the explodey bits from Bane.
Mm-hmm.
I think if you edited out the over the topness, that whole dynamic between the cop storyline and the detective storyline from that film is essentially what this boils down to, but you just have Batman filling in that piece. Because, when you think back to that film, like Batman was off the table for most of that movie. You just kind of put him back in that like active detective role without like the over the top, because the villains are grounded. You've got the Penguin, you've got the Joker, but they're grounded people.
Sure. So,
and there's a little bit of like a scary, to me, like I did find the third act a little bit disturbing because the Joker ties into like social media and streaming and like rallies the troops, which to me feels incredibly uncomfortable in the actual climate of this country at this point. Like it hits a little too close to like, yeah, I could see that next week. But other than that, like, and I can't even fault the film for that. It just made me a little uncomfortable, but like, it's very well grounded for a movie that takes place in a fictional city.
Sure. Do you think they're like, ever since The Dark Knight, I feel like they're trying to be like, okay, this villain, the performance of this villain is going to be even better.
Right.
And more, like disturbing and weird but also very scary. And yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think they were, that's a good quote. That's a good point. Like, I think they probably made a conscious effort in this film not to do that.
Okay.
And maybe it will expand. They basically set this as like a dirty, like mobster 70s, 80s era, like New York vibe. The villains are there, but they're just like the criminal underbelly. Nobody's a superhero. They're running drug schemes and rings. People are getting caught up in stuff. And even the Joker, for the most part, is just a dude. Like, he's just a deranged dude who lives in his own head. And
so it's very much about the plot, more like even like that standalone Joker movie was, the whole movie is just the Joker,
Right. Yeah. Not even, there's no makeup. There's no question marks, minus a subtle reference near the end. It's very, very mob crime, big city feel, but Batman's there piecing it together.
Sure.
It's cool. The Catwoman angle is a little bit meh. I don't think that kind of came together. I think they're trying to position that as a love interest and sidekick for future films. I don't know that they'll come full circle to like a Robin in this one if it continues, but yeah, it's good. That was probably the weakest part of the story.
Sure.
For me.
So I'm guessing they'll probably make more of them. I mean, why?
It seems like
they're not going to stop making Batman movies.
No. Plus, it grossed well considering the pandemic still had an impact on that. It reviewed well, which is surprisingly, considering the public like outcry for the main role. Yeah, I'd be curious to see more. I'd like to see a more streamlined version of it, and maybe when they cut some of the fat in the next one, they're not trying to set up like the little bit of backstory they did, which is unnecessary because we all know it, right?
Yeah. Did you see his parents get shot in the alley?
No.
Like, perfect. That's
so they did us the favor of skipping that, which was nice. Yeah, I thought for sure that was the opening scene because the opening scene is seen through like the scope and like the lens of the killer, and I was like, damn it, do I really have to watch this another time? And they didn't make us do it. In fact, they barely touch on it. It's talked about in a passing, like in movie news sequence, but yeah, for the most part. And it's actually kind of interesting because they play the angle of like his parents were not all that he seemed. Like, that's a big component of this. Is like he was a kid. He saw one angle, but like really his parents are just as guilty in everything that he's now fighting as anyone else. So that's kind of cool.
Huh. Yeah, I'm sure I'll watch it at some point. It's one of those things where it's my wife kind of wants to see it, but trying to find a time where she would be in the mood to watch a Batman movie for 2.5 hours above anything else. That's tough.
Right. That time commitment's rough. And then like I don't know what was going on with me. Like, I started developing like a splitting headache through that movie. But by like the end point, I was just like, everything I could do, like, just wince through that thing. But it was still good. Yeah, I do recommend it. Definitely one of those movies, especially like the Joker, like, know what you're getting into. know the frame of mind you need to be in, and like don't watch it until you know you can sit through that.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely did the same thing with the Joker too, where it's like, well, do I want to be depressed for a while? No. Okay, I'm gonna wait. So yeah. I totally get the people that watch that one and say like, I didn't like it. It was boring. It was too, that makes sense too. But at the end of the day, I think it's solid. It's a solid movie that didn't need to be a Batman movie, but it's probably better for it.
Sure. Well, I don't think I have any.
An episode? Do we have more? No. Biff was MIA. He got we were recording. I keep wanting to get him on here because I want to call him out. So this will be fun. Let's just do this as a little ender. So I don't know if I've told you this story. Maybe I did, but I was on Twitter the other day, and like this person's like been commenting and following me on Twitter for a while, and it's this Pixel Toaster person, right? Like, okay, that's weird. Like, no followers, no whatever, new account. I'm like, okay, huh? And the artwork was like, well, seems familiar-ish. And then I keep watching this person. They're commenting on my stuff on occasion. I see they're following a couple people that are pretty close to like, I would say like our online inner circle. And still it's just like 10 people and under. And then I'm thinking like, started piecing it together. I was like, is this Biff? Did Biff create another Twitter account and not tell me, right? And then I posted this thing about some vinyl I picked up, and one of them was Beautiful Joe. And I get this comment like, oh yeah, Beautiful Joe, what a great game, great soundtrack. I was like, oh, that's definitely, I'm like, I'm glad I didn't ask Biff, because this is clearly not Biff. He didn't play GameCube. He's never played that game. And then out of the blue, like 2 weeks ago, this account posts something for the first time ever. And it's a screenshot with the box art of Sky Shark. I was like, motherfucker. I'm like, that's Biff. So I text him right away. I was like, you're Pixel Toaster. He's like, what are you talking about? I was like, Twitter, Pixel Toaster. It's like, what's a Twitter? I'm like, it is you. It's you, isn't it? And he finally admits it. And then I'm just like, you son of a bitch. And then I sat on it for a couple days. And I was like, I messaged him again. I was like, you do kind of realize how creepy it is to like stalk your real life friends on a social media platform and not tell them, right? And then here it turns out he had this like huge elaborate plan where he was going to pretend to be like Weekend Rental's biggest super fan, and then have his wife take pictures at MGC of like him and I together so that I didn't know it was him, and like tweet it out on this random account and like how he was following us around the show. And I was like, that is genius, but you totally blew your cover.
Oh, that would have made us feel really good. You ruined it.
Yeah, I've been giving him so much shit about that. I was like, dude, you're that's weird, but pretty funny at the same time. It's like, if only you had just refrained from tweeting and blowing your cover. It's good stuff. So if anybody wants to find him on Twitter, Biff is Pixel Toaster. It's a toaster made out of pixels. It should be easy to find. Tell him he's a creep for stalking his friends, please. Well, on that note, I suppose we could take this thing out after he blew his cover.
That's right. So where you're going to find us, the best spot to find us?
Probably Pixel Toaster at Twitter.
Yep. Any photos from MGC are probably be floating through that account. So you'd be one to. Yeah.
We'll have some MGC updates on the old Twitter. So keep an eye on that, people.
But we're on geekade.com. So make sure you check that place out. If you have some extra time, there's some other stuff worth checking out on there as well. But we're also on Facebook, the Elon Musk verse, whenever that's going to happen. And that's about it. So, I mean, we also accept emails at weekendrentalpodcast@gmail.com. I'd love to hear like the best, like small con story from people. So like
theft or convention?
No, yeah, like well, it could be a theft at a convention. That's probably a pretty good story, but I would say, like your Comic-Con, the small event that it's like, there's people there that and you feel sad that they're there type of thing.
Oh, speaking of that, I forgot to tell you why I left the Comic-Con. I looked over and saw a coworker who's in her probably about 60, I'm guessing, and she was dressed up as Wonder Woman, skirt and all.
Wow.
And I tried not to make eye contact, and I headed for the door, and that was the end of my experience. So, top that, internet. Send us an email.
That's pretty awesome.
Is it? Is it? It's not.
Just have to ask her if she brought her invisible jet to work.
She traded in for the broom she usually
Oh my.
In.
Well, on that note, I guess we'll just say, be kind.
Yeah. Comic-Con.